Live here.
Live!
But we don't have to necessarily know what that means.
What's the someday of blank?
I don't
there's
know
a
that we
reason
want to-
this story happens now.
Ladies and gentlemen, the movie writes itself. Ooh.
I'm still streaming. How do I stop streaming? No!
Here we are again.
Hello.
Cyberdyne Systems K 1.0.
I'm grasping at straws now, aren't I? I'm just like, what funny thing can I do on my? I just, it was spur of the moment. I was just like, that'll do. So I should come up with a list in advance of the shows. Any suggestions for silly names for me to call myself that somewhere use Jake? Please put them in the comments. Or
right. We need more silly Jake names.
More silly Jakeisms.
Absolutely. Well, we are back after 3 days off.
Yes.
Shana Tova to all my fellow Jews out there. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to y'all.
And so we should probably recap for those viewers. We should. Very mini recap, and then
I'll do it as brief as possible. Is my volume okay? I've been playing around with the mic location, and notice I haven't got it in shot, but it's just off screen here. I don't know.
It's okay. Your internet connection is a little fuzzy. You just
froze. A little fuzzy today. I don't know what to do about that. As we've talked about that. We'll jam on.
Call your internet provider, Jake. Call your internet provider.
It's the uploads. The downloads are great. Anyway, okay. So welcome. Previously on Ben and Jake Write a Movie, we have come to this project with no idea what we were writing. We spent our first session really honing that down to an idea, at the start of an idea that evolved over that first week to ultimately becoming essentially Midnight Run meets the Terminator with a demon and the Antichrist. Yes, super fun, whereby this demon has to transport the Antichrist to a specific location at a certain time, and there'll be twists and turns on the way. Allies we thought were allies turn out to be enemies. Enemies turn out to be allies. It's all a wonderful mix. We've spent the last little while starting the outline, the kind of broad outline, the 30,000-foot view of it, and we have some kind of major plot points laid out. And where we're at right now is we spent the last few sessions really diving deep on our two characters, the character of Sam, who is our human protagonist. I didn't do my homework. I haven't done my homework.
Keep going.
Anyway, and then the other day we talked about our demon character, who currently is, we're imagining, played by Charlize Theron. So we just jokingly call her Charlize. But last week we said we were going to come today with 10 demon names, and I realized I've forgotten to do my homework, and I haven't got 10 demon names.
That's okay. I actually don't have any.
Oh, there you go. Fantastic. It's okay.
But I did do
as long as the whole class hasn't done their homework.
Yes. I did do my other homework, however, and I did watch Constantine over the weekend. And there is a lot to discuss about Constantine.
Well, let's have the conversation about Constantine first.
This movie.
Great.
So,
let's talk about
Constantine. For anyone who hasn't seen the movie Constantine with Keanu Reeves, released
early 2000s, 2002, 2003, maybe
early 2000s, early 2000s.
Yep.
Yeah, something like that. It's quite a fun movie. Shia LaBeouf, Tilda Swinton, Rachel Weisz, and they're going to be making a sequel, which was just announced.
I am so excited about that. Why are we talking about Constantine?
So the reason we're talking about Constantine is because it takes place in a world where demons are real, angels are real, and there is a bit of a war between heaven and hell, and the whole kind of broad genre nature of it is definitely in the zone of what we're talking about. And so obviously, as part of our process, we like to look at the movies that are in the same wheelhouse as ours so that we can, use the things that really work, but ultimately also try and avoid the things that will make it feel like a ripoff. We don't want to blatantly copy anyone, whether purposefully or just subconsciously. We've both
Yeah.
seen the movie, so you never know
Yeah.
what's coming out of you and your imagination through your subconscious.
And it serves two purposes, doesn't it? Because ultimately, creative wise, you always want to be doing the most original version of our own work. Like, we want that. And also, I think from when it comes to practicalities of selling, we never want someone to go, it's too much like this.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, we want to be aware of those things. So I think it's a very,
Yeah.
very good thing for people who write movies to watch movies.
And this one in particular is a very interesting for us based on the stories that we've been coming up with. Now, I will say, on the positive side of things, tonally, Constantine is completely different than what I see this movie as in terms of it's very dark. There's definitely some moments that feel almost horror-esque. There's certainly no humor at all. It has a couple of action moments, but I definitely wouldn't call it an action movie.
Right.
Interestingly enough, I kind of remembered it having more action, and then every time they started to go into what I thought was going to be action, it actually didn't really satisfy me.
They all just sat down with a cup of tea instead.
Well, it's like, you know, there's like the biggest set piece of the movie takes like 30 seconds and he wins. I mean, like, it was the kind of thing where it's like there's actually quite a few moments in there that remind me of Blade. And there's certainly some overlap. And so I don't know whether it just has to do with the fact that they're both comic book movies, and so these characters share a lot of tropes,
right?
And they're both dealing with kind of the paranormal and the undead.
Yeah, the kind of darker side of superhero stuff. Yeah,
you know, it's like in Blade, he's got Whistler, who makes him all the like special weapons that are just for killing vampires. In Constantine, he's got this dude that like is like in the bowling alley that like makes him all the special weapons that deal with killing demons.
Right.
So, you know, there's very similar things. Thankfully, in our movie, we do not have the special person that they go to.
Right.
That is totally different. That is a good thing to remember, is that this is a trope that is so commonly used that I don't think we want to go there.
We don't have a Q, a demon Q.
Yeah, demon Q. Well, that's basically what these characters are, right? They're all Q. They kind of all stem from that great classic James Bond trope that started it all. It's like the guy who makes the cool shit.
Right.
There's always a guy who makes the cool shit.
Right.
Like even in Mission Impossible, you kind of have like
a Simon Pegg a little bit in 3.
Yeah. Do it. He doesn't make as much cool shit, but he's still that guy. You know, there's the character that makes all the cool shit.
Right.
I think we scratch that character from our movie. I think it'll help separate it.
Okay.
Also, I do think tone is important. I think this movie, even just from a color palette, is just very dark and very serious. And I think that while our movie is not a comedy, it's not going to be Midnight Run. It's more of an action movie. I do think it should be a bit lighter and a bit more fun in terms of the action. I think our characters need to be having fun. And we've talked about the banter back and forth and things like that. I think that's important. But here's where we start to get into things where I think we need to kind of just pull back and go, are these ideas still the ideas we want to go with? So
are they as fresh as we thought they were?
Yeah, right. So the story in Constantine is you've got this guy who is clearly a demon hunter, essentially. He's an exorcist, but he also does more than just exorcise people. He has a fucking gun at one point, and he blasts them with, you know, cross infused bullets, and you know, like he uses holy water to burn their faces, and my favorite, which is the brass knuckles that are gold that have like crosses on them, and he like pounds this guy's face. That's fun. But he's a demon hunter, and the reason you learn is that he had committed suicide at one point but survived. And as a result, he was cursed to essentially go to hell. And he, for some reason they never fully explained, believes that he can redeem himself in the eyes of God if he like kills enough demons. And that maybe his soul won't be damned to hell. So over the years, he has continued to go up against all of Lucifer's minions as they have been there, and thus Lucifer has a real grudge against him as well. And they say at one point he's the only soul that Lucifer would come up to Earth for. And then of course that happens because it was, you know, they set it up, and then that's what happens at the end. Spoiler alert, if you haven't seen it, sorry, it's like 20 years old. So so
there comes a point when you go.
There comes a point when you can't claim spoilers, right?
Darth Vader, get this, is Luke Skywalker's father. Although I've been trying to keep that from my kids, so they can really enjoy that moment.
Yeah. So some of the rules are interesting, and these are where we kind of differentiate, but also don't differentiate. So the demons, it's a little confusing, actually.
Okay.
In their lore, actual angels and actual demons cannot traverse the human plane. They are not allowed. Those are the rules, right? And basically, they state at some point that God and the devil made a bargain, and that that for the souls of humanity, and that they could only essentially watch and see whether humanity would go down the dark path or the good path. But what they have to aid them are what are called half-breeds, which they don't actually explain what the fuck that is, or why, or how they were created.
Well, you could maybe go, are these half human, half demons? But you know, how do you make love to a human if you are not allowed on the physical?
Well, here's the problem with it, right? So the concept is that you have a half-breed demon and a half-breed angel, but if angels and demons aren't allowed to come down to Earth, like in old Greek, they're clearly playing off of the Hercules of it all.
Sure.
That kind of half-breed. Yeah. But they can't come down here. So how did these things become half-breeds? Anyway, whatever. You let it all go because it's that kind of movie. But they also make the Archangel Gabriel a half-breed, which also makes no real sense, because while she's a half-breed, it's played by Tilda Swinton. It's very amorphous as to her sexual identity, which also was something we had talked about. But then
gender identity. Yes. Anyway, yes.
Gender identity. Yeah. She's wonderful in it. Tilda.
Yeah, she's great. We love Tilda.
But so Gabriel has wings, like full-on wings, and is in heaven most of the time. And yet at one point, Constantine calls her a half-breed. And I'm like...
Yeah, confusing. Yeah, interesting.
It was a little confusing, unless I completely misheard it. And please, if someone knows this movie and you're out there, leave me a comment. Maybe I got it wrong. There's another character who's a demon character who's a half-breed. So you have the angel half-breed and the demon half-breed, and his name is Balthazar. He is definitely a half-breed. Again, you have no idea how this guy is any different than a traditional demon.
Okay.
Because he is a demon on Earth, and underneath his human appearance is a demonic appearance.
Interesting. Okay.
But he's not one of these monstrous things that they show that have their heads cut in half and these weird creatures. It's those are the real demons, and then you have half demons who are the ones that are here on Earth.
Right. Okay.
Very confusing mythology. But it reminded me a little bit of what we were talking about for our demon, in that they look human, but that actually there is a demonic presence or
beneath the skin.
Nature beneath the skin. Now,
yes.
In Constantine, they do it a little bit different than what we've been talking about. You don't see the demonic aspect of them in mirrors. It actually is literally under their skin. And so what happens is he'll throw holy water on them, and the holy water will burn their skin off, and you'll see the demon underneath it.
Right.
Which is really kind of cool. And
yeah.
You kind of go, okay, so you're really a demon, but you're also a half-breed, so you can live on Earth, unlike the real demons. Anyway, I'm not going to get too bogged down on that. But the point is, what they claim is that the half-breeds are there to whisper into humanity's ears to guide them in the various directions. This is kind of what we've been talking about in our mythology, but it's also very broad, kind of commonly understood mythology. So we don't
Yeah, I
feel
mean,
like
it's
we
interesting, isn't it? I mean, like you think of the
right?
image, the classic image of the angel and the demon on one shoulder.
Exactly.
You
And
know,
the way that
yeah,
they talk about it is specific to them, you know. They are very much steeped in Catholic lore.
yeah,
I mean, this is a
yeah.
full-on Catholic lore movie.
Right.
Interestingly, I would say I would go in two directions commenting on our movie. One, I would say you were right in the sense that I had no issue buying into the stakes and the reality of it being strictly Catholic, even as a Jew.
Yeah.
And yet, two, because it is strictly Catholic lore in this movie, and our movie is doing similar things, I think our choice to go away from strictly Catholic lore and going a bit broader actually helps us.
Great.
So I'll give you props there, and then I also think that our choice is probably the right one. So then you have the angel or half-breed angel Gabriel is the traitor.
Yeah,
John has been going up against who he thought was on his side, kind of, because she's kind of a bitch to him. And in the end, guess what?
Wait, are you telling me? Hang on. Are you telling me that Tilda Swinton plays a baddie?
Right?
I haven't yet seen 2,000 Years of Longing. I don't think she does in that, but it's obviously
she's fantastic in that. I saw it. I loved it. Although the problem with that movie is, I will say, I really still don't understand what it's about, other than just it's a love story. Anyway, moving back onto Constantine, though, we do need to think about this betrayal by the angel, because they literally do the trope
and even in
a good angel.
Yeah. And even in Legion, as we were talking about the other week, the angels of heaven are basically the bad guys. Although there's a redeeming quality in the character that Paul Bettany plays, and he comes down because he's rejected that. The forces of good are actually evil. So maybe that's
so there's a thing there, right?
Yeah.
It might be worn territory. I mean, and I will say in this, though, it was what we've talked about, and I don't think it worked very well, whereby all of a sudden she reveals her evilness at the very fucking end. So she never even really becomes an obstacle. So it was a really weird thing. It was like her defeat was not exciting because she was never the obstacle that he was going up against.
Sure.
And it was a very interesting choice, because actually none of the characters that he defeats in the climax of the movie are people he's been going up against. The one bad guy that they kind of create is this character of Balthazar, and they don't spend a ton of time with him, and then he beats him like well before the climax. So I kind of was like, this is odd. Like, all of a sudden you're bringing me Tilda, and you're saying, oh, this is the big bad. And then what's even worse is there's no real fight between him and Tilda at all. She like kicks his ass in 2 seconds. And the only way, again, spoiler alert, the only way John Constantine wins is by killing himself again.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's no big fight at all. He comes into this building. They've created all these followers. Not Tilda, by the way, this random guy who happens to hold the Spear of Destiny. This guy who holds the Spear of Destiny has somehow created all these followers, which again, the mythology is so bare bones. You just go, I don't understand. The last time I saw you with the spear, you were walking through a field of cows and they were all dying and disintegrating. The next time you're around humans and they're just like perfectly fine, only now they're like possessed and they're your minions. But then it's not even that they're your minions, they're actually half-breed demons, because there's this actually very cool but stolen from Blade moment where they spray down holy water on this entire room of demons.
Sure.
And so all of their skin starts burning off. But you're really confused because you're like, where did these guys come from? Did they follow the Spear of Destiny, dude? Or like, who are these people? These are all the half-breeds are here because of why? There was no really strong antagonist in the movie. It was very strange in that sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
I really didn't understand. But, there's another but, what is the villain plot? Well, while there is no clear villain, and even Lucifer isn't the villain, but Lucifer ends up being on our side.
Interesting.
While there's no clear villain, the villain plot is to bring Lucifer's son to Earth, which is kind of reminiscent of the Antichrist. They do not call him the Antichrist, and he is not human, he is a demon. But the goal is that with the Spear of Destiny, they can break the boundary. And so this demon that's not allowed to come out will somehow be allowed to come out. Right. And then reign on Earth where Lucifer had failed. They don't, like I said, they don't call him the Antichrist. We never really see him. Only in one shot do we even see who this guy is. And he doesn't play a part in the movie whatsoever. But it's just, again, something to consider is like their plot collectively is to like bring forth this being of darkness so that they can essentially win.
Do bad shit on Earth.
Win the war between, heaven and hell.
Okay.
So that, again, is just like something to kind of keep in mind to go, okay, that feels maybe a little worn. I have definitely seen other movies whereby the end goal is, to bring hell to Earth or whatever that might be.
Yeah, sure.
It's not very clean in this movie. You have one of my favorite scenes in the whole movie is actually how the movie starts.
Yeah, with the exorcism.
Girl, and there's an exorcism.
It's a great scene.
It's really weird because what's happening to the girl is identical to what happens in the finale, whereby you see this demon kind of pushing through like the alien and Aliens, right? And yet somehow you're like, well, wait a minute. If this is only possible with the Spear of Destiny, why did we see it at the very beginning of the movie?
Right.
Like,
some confusing elements in this movie that
that
had it
really fun. Really fun. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I
remember liking it at the time too.
I just have to call out just a couple of other things that I was just like, oh no. Like they have this human sidekick of Shia LaBeouf. And he's young in it. I don't, it might have even been pre-Transformers.
Yeah, it was.
And he like basically plays his cab driver, which reminds me of Short Round from Indiana Jones. Yeah, right. And like he's like wants to be his apprentice, but we never see John Constantine teach him anything.
Sure.
And then in the end, he goes into the climax and he dies. Spoiler alert again. But even when he dies, like there's no grieving for him. There's no
that guy.
It's like, oh, you're dead. Shit, we got to keep going now. And then like they leave, like it all happens in this hospital. They leave, him and like Rachel Weisz leave together, but like no one's thinking of like poor Shia's body that's just back there on the ground.
Yeah,
they didn't bring him. And the thing is, they bring Keanu back to life, so they could have worked a way to
could have done it.
Shia back to life.
Absolutely.
Instead, this poor kid died, and no one's talking about it.
That's very interesting. Yeah, interesting.
So anyway, that is a long way of me basically saying that between the angel and demon idea, the double cross of the angel, and then the kind of goal of bringing forth this ultimate dark power, those are all ideas present in this movie. Now, our execution of those ideas and our idea of how to execute them, totally different.
Yeah, absolutely right. Absolutely right. So, it's one of these tough things that you're kind of going, what's the way that you can do? So here it is. If I find out that the demons are bad and that the angels are good, I go, well, yeah, of course.
Oh, wait.
Oh, wait, hang on. Whoa.
No.
No,
What?
really? You're blowing my mind here, guys. Wait, oh, that's so clever.
What
I've
a
never seen
twist
that.
on that trope.
Whoa. So there's that. And the opposite being, oh, hang on. The angel's actually the bad guy. You go, yeah,
Well,
okay.
I mean,
I've also
look,
seen that, you know?
I guess my question is, just coming out of this is,
Yeah.
do we need the I'm working for the bad guy twist? How important
No, we
is
don't.
it?
No, but I think my kind of questions are just really just born out of what can you do that's interesting and new that you haven't seen before? You
Well,
know,
so
what can you, yeah.
I have a thought on that.
Well, let's hear it, Benjamin.
I don't know. It's not fleshed out, but
It doesn't need to be. It's okay.
yeah. So basically, like, what if rather than the demons and the angels, like, like I guess what I've never seen, unless someone can tell me that it has happened in something, is like an angel demon team up. Like,
Well,
so
that is a little bit what happens in Good Omens, isn't it? Aren't they working together in Good Omens?
I have not
who-
seen Good
I've
Omens.
not
I know
seen it
someone
either,
did
but-
comment and told us to watch it.
Yeah, I do think that is part of that. They are an
Okay.
angel and a demon team up to stop the end of the world. I
right,
think.
never
Again, I
mind.
haven't seen it, but again,
Never mind.
yeah.
But
But again, can you play around with that idea? What would it look like if the forces of heaven and the forces of hell had to work together against our heroes? And that what I think is what I think is the different thing on it. As I go, well, I've seen, because in that, Michael Sheen and David Tennant play the angel and the demon, and they are working together. They are your protagonists.
Sure.
You go, oh, okay, here is an unlikely team up.
Yeah.
These two people working together. But what I haven't seen is, we must be so bad that both the forces of heaven and hell are working to stop us and what we are doing. Like, we're on the other side of that equation, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot to mine there because I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know why. And that's it. You go,
so much
hey,
to think about.
you present this idea and you go, how could we make that work?
Right. I mean,
yeah.
The other thing that I think about, and maybe this is just, I'm just going to toss it out there, is, are celestials and angels even needed in this movie?
Good question.
So,
great question.
She's a demon, and we're talking about the Antichrist. If angels aren't allowed to, we just create the thing where they're not allowed to come down and interfere because that's just the way that it goes. But that our demon somehow gets this information from someone else. And then chooses to do something against her own kind. And the demons are coming after them.
Sure. I think that's really interesting. And then you could have the other, in place of the celestial force, what if you had fucking demon hunters? You have your Constantine-esque group of people.
But not with the guy who makes cool shit.
But not with the guy who makes cool shit. He's not part of it. They don't have a queue. They make their own stuff. They make their own but make your own stuff. But like, what if it's that? And it's like, oh, we've got to get, these people are after us because they're devout fucking,
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I'm just trying to think of, like,
rednecks. Redneck demon hunters.
That's fun.
Just saying.
I mean, honestly, a demon hunter. Look, there's a version of this movie that I will say becomes a trio: a demon hunter, a demon, and a child who's meant to be the Antichrist, like Carrie or whatever. Whereby you end up with the three of them together. We're a demon hunter and a demon.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. That's really.
I mean, now I'm going in a whole new direction. But when you take out the angels of it all, I go, it's still the traveling movie. It's still all of the stuff that we've talked about from a character perspective. But your human protagonist becomes perhaps a little bit. Okay, here's the thing. All of a sudden, your human protagonist becomes special. They're a demon hunter now, and not just a girl who works a shitty job. And
I guess my question is, can you have all three? Does the movie say again?
Could be 3 adults.
You know, what if, you know, Demon Hunter goes to Demon and says, I need your help, Demon. I've known about you for a while, but you've not been doing some bad shit. You're interesting.
You seem different.
You seem different. Look, I found this girl. She is blank. She's whatever. We've got to get her by here, and I need your help to do it. Why? Because demons are going to
have come true.
Because demons are going to be trying to stop me. And yeah, I'm good, but you'd be even better. You know,
or demons are going to be coming for her, and if they get her, the world is going to become, you know, the age of darkness or whatever.
Totally.
And so I can't do this alone, and you clearly have turned on your own kind, so maybe we can work together.
That's interesting. That's
or your demon hunter is the one who is the Dexter, you know, the person living in the cabin in the woods. The demon learns of the Antichrist's existence because they're a demon.
That's pretty good.
And goes to the demon hunter
saying, that's good.
They're going to be coming and the world will end and you need to help me and come out of retirement, Hugh Jackman.
Okay, great. So Charlize Theron turns up at Hugh Jackman's door. Okay.
Right.
Instantly, they fight. Because he's like, there's a fucking demon at my cabin door. Fight. She wins and she doesn't kill him. And she says, and he's like, finish it. And she's like, no, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here because we need to work together. And he's like, huh?
Yeah.
Raises one eyebrow.
And it's like, he's killed more of them than anyone else ever has.
Totally.
And even though he's even though he's like, you know, in his 50s or 60s or whatever, and is retired at this point, like we get some fucking great actor for the role, like someone that doesn't get to be in this kind of, you know, it's like the way they did The Old Man with Jeff Bridges, you know, it's like you get someone fucking awesome, right? It's Liam Neeson, okay? Liam Neeson's living in a
he doesn't work anymore.
What?
Yeah, great. Yeah, it's great. It works. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean. It's Jerry Butler, whatever. Right. It's someone a little bit older who can still do action. Yeah. He's not as old as Sean Connery was in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Right.
Although actually, he still looked pretty good now.
He still looked pretty good, yeah. But it's not Sir Ian McKellen.
Correct. So the point is, now, if that were to happen, now it will change a lot of our current ideas that we've been going down. But for everyone watching, this is writing.
This is it. This is absolutely it. This is it. You go, hey, we've got an idea. And then you realize, you go, I've just watched this other thing. And it's the importance of watching all those. Again, I think probably in an ideal world, we would have had like a week of movie watching. And we would have gone, let's just go and watch a bunch of movies in one go. And then we would have come back at the end of that week and gone, hey, here's what I learned from these movies. Right. But I mean, ultimately, all we have at the moment is a loose scratch pad of ideas. It's partially.
A lot of the structure actually doesn't necessarily have to change. It just needs to be reworked. Totally. What I like about this, so here's what I'll say in terms of what I like about it. I like that it gives me, and actually going with a slightly older girl instead of the kid, instead of Carrie. Let's say you're. Ooh, okay. Here's what you've got. You've got Charlize Theron, the demon.
Yep.
You've got Haley Steinfeld as the future Antichrist, who's in her 20s.
Yep.
And then you've got Hugh Jackman, who's the old demon hunter.
Right.
And that's your fucking cast, right?
Absolutely.
And they've got to somehow get Haley to the Holy Land to expel the Antichrist out of her before the demons get her.
That's interesting. Okay, and that's the goal.
And that's the goal.
Great.
Perhaps.
I'm down. I really like this dynamic of these two. And again, going to what we were talking about the other week about interesting dynamics between the two lead characters.
Right. Well, you had this idea. You know what's funny is you literally pitched me Midnight Run with a vampire hunter and a vampire. like a few months ago.
I did.
And now this actually has kind of come full circle to be almost exactly that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And instead of it's just the two of them, we're throwing in the fact that what they're transporting, the goods that they're transporting, is the Antichrist.
Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Quick question for you, but I know we were talking just off camera before about whether or not we were going to do 2 separate episodes. Are we going to do it as one? What do we think? I mean, I know one person commented the other week that they liked the 2 episodes.
They
but
did.
As we look at our viewing numbers,
situation, guys. There's 3 people watching us right now. I'd love to know your opinion. Hello. People have been watching the full length, even if they go an hour and a half, more than they've been watching the smaller cut versions. So we don't know whether we should stick to the smaller cut version model or go back to just the full length models.
And now again, both are available. We keep both of them available. But
of course, and it's okay. It just takes us a little more time to cut it through, and then you have to listen to Jake do recaps.
This is true.
3 times,
which as we know is the worst part of the episode.
The worst part of the episode.
Or just the worst.
I think for right now, why don't we recap where we're at for people?
Okay.
But listen, really, leave us comments and tell us if it's a good thing to be able to have half an hour.
And this is on the replay. This is not for the live. The lives are always going to be us doing our thing for about an hour, sometimes an hour plus. But when we post them to YouTube after the fact, you might see we've split various episodes into 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3, for example.
Right.
Anyway, well, I'll do a recap now, and then perhaps there were viewers who didn't spot. So
recap of the last half hour.
Recap of the last half hour. So we've been talking today. We started off talking about the movie Constantine. I think it's 2004. And Keanu Reeves movie. And Ben, upon watching this movie, saw some shocking similarities in the direction that we were going with our movie, which included, but are not limited to, the angel being the double-crossing bad guy, and this concept about bringing
2005.
2005. It wasn't far off. So anyway, what we have discovered upon that is going, well, shall we just move away from that because it lives into similar territory, and actually going, well, what is the interesting idea? I suggested, well, do we have some redneck demon hunters being the other thing? And then Ben went, well, what if actually it becomes a demon hunter and a demon up have to team up to transport the Antichrist to the Holy Land, all by Friday evening at midnight or Sunday
by Halloween. I don't know why. Just arbitrary. It's just arbitrary. That's what these movies do.
We could call it. Why? We could call it the 7th day.
Oh.
Don't know. Again, just throw out movie titles. You
never know. Maybe. But here's an interesting thing. The characters that we've worked on, the 2 protagonists that we've worked on, actually can stay almost exactly what we talked about.
They do.
But here's my question, and I think that we're going to have to think about this. I don't know of a movie, but maybe there is one out there, people, where you have 3 protagonists, whereby each are equally as weighted and have as equally growth as the others. So now, if there is an example, I'd love to watch it because, again, this is how we do our research. But
I got it. The 3 amigos.
Yes, the 3 musketeers.
The 3 stooges.
The 3 stooges. You're right. I've been proven wrong. But I guess it's like,
I think we'd have to play around with the levels of growth and changing all of them. But I think probably in this version, they all have a change. They all go through a moment of growth. I mean, ultimately, it's just balancing that out, isn't it? I actually think, as we go into it, and as we talk about this demon hunter character who doesn't I don't do that shit anymore, kind of guy, Jeff Bridges being a really interesting comp for that, you know. I go, well, then what kind of personality should the demon have that kind of, and again, like what's the dynamic of, what's the scene of 3 of them in the car and they can't agree on what to play on the fucking radio? You know, like
Nick
what's
Nolte.
It's Nick, yeah, totally Nick Nolte, absolutely. You know, you could bring someone who hasn't worked in a while and you go, yeah, I fucking would love to see.
But it could also be a movie star as well.
Yes, it could.
It doesn't have to be an older actor. Like what's interesting is
it could be Hugh Jackman. It could be Mark.
It could be Hugh Jackman. It could be Daniel Craig. It could be anyone in their like,
yeah,
50s, really, if you wanted to go there. Someone who did it for 30 years and got out. You know,
totally.
So I love that. I love the idea of like, what's the scene in the car where they're driving and it's like they all want different things. I also really like, interestingly, adding a male component.
I do too.
To this traveling group.
Yes.
And the idea of like, just thinking about, Jeff Bridges, Charlize Theron, and Haley Steinfeld in a car together.
I'd fucking go and see that movie. I'd go and see that in a second.
See that movie, right?
Totally. Well, I'd go and see it just for the again, like I see the trailer and it's that first fight moment. It's like, what? Are you here to kill me? No, I need your help. Huh?
Right.
You know, that's great. Like, I'm instantly intrigued by that.
Yeah, a demon comes to a demon hunter for help to try and save the Antichrist soul.
Great. That's great. It's really great. Eric, who's watching us live, said if the views are higher for the full length and it saves you all time, you may as well abandon the half-hour part system altogether. Yeah, I'm with you, Eric. Save ourselves
right, Eric. I think you're right. We thought maybe it'd be good for, little morsels for people to do, but I actually think you're right. And we were doing a thing. I was cutting out little nuggets of like, just like fun, like 3-4 minute moments. I think we could probably keep doing that.
I think so too. I think that's fine. Post those two up. Stories. Great. Yeah. All right. Well, I really like this. I really like this a lot. It's just interesting again, isn't it? That when you're in this development stage, not to get married to the ideas you've already come up with. And you might really like those ideas. Yeah. But again, keep playing the concept of just keep playing with the what if. You're constantly picking it up. I have a Rubik's Cube here. I've been trying to think in 3-dimensional ways. You go, oh, what is it from back here? What is it from back there? Just that constant idea of it's not set until you've written it. And even when you've written it, you can rewrite it. You should constantly be unattached to your ideas because, again, it's not about, oh, but this is my idea and getting all attached to the egoic side of that. It's just like this malleable thing you're just playing with all of the time. So, that's my top tip for the day.
Sorry, Eric. I literally just spelled your name wrong.
Erok. You shall be known hereafter as Erok. And it's, I can see it on our little thing. It's posting it on Lustig and Thornton on Facebook.
On both.
Also, quick plug. If you haven't yet, do subscribe to our channel. We've now got up to 116 subscribers. Where are we?
116 subscribers. Yeah, I think
so much for doing that. If you haven't yet, please do. It's going to make sharing this channel really easy with people because we have to get what's called a vanity link, which means
which I think we've qualified for. Kind of, we have to wait 30 days. Yeah.
Right. Yes. So anyway, we've done it just be youtube.com/Lustig and Thornton. Anyway, so do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Again, increases our visibility so we can get this out there to as many people as possible. Anyway, okay. So
there's another question that this changes.
Go.
And it brings up, and I want to talk about it, which is villain plot.
Yes, it does. It absolutely
So obviously, there is no celestial playing backstabber that we discover halfway through and the way in which we've structured it so far.
Yeah.
That's all going to go out the window from a villain plot perspective. It's not going to happen. So now the cleanest route, the straightforward route is the demons are the bad guys. We create a head demon and that's our main bad guy. And I'm just wondering, is there something else?
Well, it's interesting. And I was kind of half joking about the the redneck demon hunters. But again, I find it to be interesting about what is going on and who wants what with this Antichrist Haley Steinfeld character. What do they think is the best outcome for this version? So the demons want to get her and have her so that on Sunday morning she can perhaps house the body of the Antichrist. Whether or not that's a direction we still keep going on or not, they're not trying to kill her. They're trying to keep her alive for this moment right here. Right. The other part, the other antagonistic force is trying to kill her because she be the Antichrist. So again, is it redneck demon hunters? Again, also not a bad name for the movie. But you know, that's the straight to DVD version of it. Redbox. Tubi. Yeah, I'll watch Redneck Demon Hunters. Again, also a movie. I've gone on a tangent. But you go, could that be another force? They are trying to kill her. Right. Neither is the best outcome for poor young Haley Steinfeld. Bless her little cotton socks.
I agree. I do think that but instead of being supernatural, they become a human antagonist.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is good. That's a good thing. Totally. I wonder, I don't know about the
redneck nature of it all. I know I went too fast.
But I do wonder if, so here's the question. Are they demon hunters? Are they religious zealots? Are they some sort of like underground, like secret society?
I'm not sure. Yes, any of those things are possible.
I mean, like, I'd go Illuminati and go, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, ultimately, it's a group that does not want the Antichrist here on Earth.
Yeah, totally.
Insert that group here. You know.
There's a little Archer and Armstrong going.
There's a little Archer and Armstrong quality about that. For those of you who don't know, Archer and Armstrong is who was it? Was it Valiant? Valiant published Archer and Armstrong?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, we actually pitched on Archer and Armstrong a few years ago. Well, we'll probably tell you a story about all our worst pitch meetings ever at some point.
At some point, but I don't think we will name titles or
no. And Archer and Armstrong definitely wasn't one of our worst pitches ever. Or was it? Anyway, we will name no names. Let's just say we'll name no names.
We will name no names.
Anyway, but yes, so I think that's right. I think it is a human set of antagonists who are trying to kill Haley Steinfeld. Bring me the head of Haley Steinfeld. Again, another title option. That's okay. I'll keep working for
it. The mob.
The mob. It's basically
the Yakuza.
The Yakuza, exactly. But honestly, demon hunting Yakuza, that sounds great. I don't think it's for this movie, but I'd watch that movie. You know?
Demon hunting Yakuza.
Again.
Yeah, sure, why not?
I mean, like, if I was scrolling, if I was walking in Blockbuster on a Friday night and I saw that, I'd be like, I might rent that.
Yeah. Not me.
I would only if it was the sequel to Demon Hunting Rednecks.
Right.
So it's a world universe.
Right. So yeah, I mean, the question though is, as I was asking, like, are they demon hunters, or has a prophecy come to pass that this group is going to try and stop? For example, like if they are part of some sort of underground society. It's not that their whole thing is about demons specifically, but that it is about, trying to do good by humanity, but they do good by doing bad. Yeah. And thus, like, when the prophecy has happened and now we've got to go after this person, and they're like a SWAT team, kind of like they're like special ops.
I mean, that's great, isn't it? It makes them far better than rednecks. I was going to say, would it be good if they had a past with the demon hunter? But we already have that, I think, with our demon character. That's already going to be present. So I actually don't need them to have a relationship with our Jeff Bridges demon hunter character. But you have an idea. I can see by your face, and you're tapping.
I do have an idea. It may complicate things a little bit.
Let's complicate the fuck out of this thing.
But imagine that there is, like, a billionaire. Like, what if an Elon Musk type was a religious fanatic who believed in all of these prophecies, and he actually is right. And he discovers this and hires these people who aren't religious, that don't believe in all this shit, that aren't
that's interesting. Literally, just like a fucking bounty hunter type squad.
like a fucking special, like BlackRock or whatever. I have the money. I'm gonna hire a fucking special ops team to go assassinate this girl. And then they end up fucking getting wrapped into like demon shit.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. Again, though, let's play with that. Let's play with that. Is that the most interesting version of them?
Does he become the main villain then? I mean, they are the ones trying to kill her. Who is the main villain? I mean, this is something I will say. Constantine was an interesting example of, I did not know who the main villain was, other than broadly the forces of darkness.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think about a movie like Taken. It's really interesting. Like in Taken, and we've watched Taken a fair amount, I think, over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
For various research purposes. And there is no singular villain in Taken. You feel at the end that you win when he goes in and, kills the guy who's basically bought his daughter. You've not seen that character up until that point.
No.
Basically, the villains in Taken are anyone who is trying to keep Liam Neeson from finding his daughter.
Yeah, that's true.
A broad group of people that ranges from French politicians to human traffickers to all of these different people.
Do you think that's this kind of? I mean, obviously there is that.
Kind of it is. I do like it when I can go. This person's been defeated. This thing has happened. I've won.
We're safe now because this person is done, or this thing is done.
Now, it could just be, if we are doing a ticking clock movie, and I think there is an element of ticking clock in this movie, which is, on Sunday morning, random time, on Sunday morning, the Antichrist, which has been living in the soul of Haley Steinfeld, is going to come out. We need to get it out by then. The only place to do that is on the top of Mount Sinai in the Holy Land or wherever that is. And that's what's got to happen by then. If we make it there by then, we win. And
there being that kind of ticking clock? You do?
I'm just saying that could absolutely be one option.
Yeah, definitely. It could be. I just don't know. I feel like for some reason, those types of ticking clocks, and we've had them in other scripts of ours before. Those type of ticking clocks always feel so arbitrary to me.
Now, what do you mean by arbitrary?
Like we just decide, on Sunday, that's why this is going to happen.
Well, what's arbitrary next about that? If that's the law we're creating for our world, it's not.
Why is that the law we're creating for our world?
It's
literally it's arbitrary because we've just decided that we need something, and so that's what we're plugging a hole with something that isn't coming out of anything other than just we really need a ticking clock. We'll just make it so that they have to do it by Sunday. It doesn't feel like it's actually derived out of the story.
Well, what if Sunday was Christmas?
Maybe that would be more derived out of the story. But do you see what I mean? Like sometimes I feel like choices that are made because you feel like you need something versus choices that are coming from the story itself. Like there's nothing at least that organically feels like this story requires it needing to be done on this day. Now, maybe there is, if we go deeper down into the characters, maybe there's a reason, but then I feel like we're like almost like reverse engineering into that.
I don't know that I entirely agree. I wouldn't say that. And again, let's talk it through. For example, in Midnight Run, you got to get the Duke back to this place by Friday, because that's the point where if you haven't done it by then, I'm going to lose my shirt. And I'm, now that's not arbitrary. That's set up in the rules of the world. So I'm saying, why can't?
But it's also, isn't it also set up in not only like the character as well? So it's not just the rules of the world, but like there's so many parts of that are right. Like, doesn't he need to? Isn't it about him getting to a court date and
Yes.
him being a prisoner and him being like that directly goes to his character and the relationship that then is part of the fact that De Niro is taking him there.
He was a crook. What does that mean for him? Well, he's the kind of guy who blank.
It's all like, it's not just you need to get him there by Sunday. It's you need to get him there for his court date. And what does that mean? Well, getting him there for his court date means you get paid, and it also means he goes to jail. And all of that is wrapped into, oh, you need to get paid because of X, and he doesn't want to go to jail because of X. And so it's very much.
So based on everything you're saying, though, let's have a little conversation about it, because I think there are ways to build that into our idea here. Let's just go down this road for a minute or two. I know we're going to wrap up in a while, but is there an aspect, again, like we've talked about her, she's got the Antichrist in her. Well, what does that mean? Well, you've been the subject of demonic manipulation throughout the years. Your mother committed suicide. Your father was a drug addict. We made all that shit happen because we wanted you to be the perfect home for this thing. Like, it's, you are the Antichrist and you have this thing inside of you because. Now, the idea of what is this particular day? Yes, sure. Just saying any Sunday, but can we find a holiday of meaning, a religious date that means something? Is there a certain thing that we can either build up into our law or actually comes from religious law? So that actually is something that's there. So it's not just, oh, we just decided it's got to be by this date but you are the Antichrist because you are the Antichrist because of all this thing. It's your character. This date is.
Maybe. Look, if there's if this movie was not grounded and set in fantasy land, then I would go 100%. We'd create that there is a the stars only align this many times of da 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 da, and Sauron is going to come to Middle Earth because blank. Like I totally because of the relatively grounded nature of the movie, at least that we're attempting. I go, okay, well then, if you're going to do that, there does need to be some pretty deep lore that we would then be creating as to why now. Because here's the thing, it doesn't just affect the climax and what's happening at that particular climax. It affects the entirety of the movie, because this girl is only just being discovered. So it's not just that, and we need to get her there. Yeah. She also has just been discovered. Like, it just happens to be that she's only just discovered 7 days before the day of her ascension. Sure. I will gently push back on the, uber grounded nature of our movie. This isn't John Wick. This isn't. I didn't say uber. I said even relatively.
Yeah. I don't even think it's relative. I mean, I think it's set in our world, but with demons and angels and antichrists.
Yeah, but our people. Well, hold on a second, and we can have a longer conversation about groundedness. Grounded doesn't mean it has to be 100% just cops and bad guys. Sure. You can do grounded fantasy. You can do people would say that Game of Thrones is more grounded than Lord of the Rings. Yeah. So, and it's because of the literally the world that you're in feels more real. It feels like it could be, even though it clearly expands outwards, and you're creating things like magic and fucking, a giant great wall. Yeah. It feels there's a sentiment about it that goes, oh, these could have been real people. There is a version of history where maybe this happened, and I think what we've been talking about, unless I'm completely mistaken, this is our world. Version of this is our world. This is supposed to be happening to us
tonight.
Right. This isn't a world that is a complete alternate fictional
Sure.
fantasy reality.
We ask, what if today blank?
Exactly.
Yeah. Sure.
And so because the nature of the movie has that grounded aspect, the choices that we make, I feel like, need to feel grounded in that as well. Even if they're involving demons and hell and all of these demon hunters and all that stuff. Like, what is the grounded version of a demon hunter? What is the grounded version of a demon? What is the grounded version of the day that the Antichrist is supposed to ascend and become the ruler of all man in the age of darkness?
Sure.
Like, and in this particular version, as we've created thus far, but as we know from today's conversation, that could change in a moment's notice. In this version, we're saying that this girl, who's in her early 20s, who has no idea that she's the Antichrist, has just been uncovered, and that the demons are coming after her because they don't want her, at least so far, because they don't want her killed, because eventually she will become the Antichrist. She isn't the Antichrist today. And the lore that we're creating is that at the end of the movie, she will have the choice. We're trying to establish it thematically, we talked about, right? Thematically, that the whole idea is, at the end of the movie, I can choose. Do I go down the path of darkness, or do I go down the path of good? For the first 20 years of my life, I've been a fuck up. Can I change? It's interesting. At the end of Constantine, that's basically what happens.
Sure.
And it's actually a really goofy moment because it's the very last moment, and you think he's going to put a cigarette in his mouth, and instead he puts a piece of gum.
Oh, nicotine gum.
They don't like you hear the sound effect of like a Pax, as if he's gonna because he's been doing this the whole movie where he's like and taking the cigarette out. Then you hear the sound effect, and he goes and you see his hand, he brings it up, and what does he do? It's a white piece of gum, and he pops in the gum.
Well, look, why don't we next time have a conversation about what this subtly changing direction does, whether or not it should be a by Sunday blank and it becomes literally a ticking clock throughout the story, or if it's going to be a far more kind of like that won't be the ticking clock. There will be a ticking clock or several ticking clocks.
Especially like,
next time.
Per our previous outline, if Haley gets captured, the ticking clock becomes rescuing her before she dies. I mean, that's ultimately what happens.
Yeah, of course, absolutely right. Yeah.
Like there's.
But again, as we're discovering,
we're at all different types of places.
Indeed, and as we're discovering today, like we're still in the idea stage. We can still be totally flexible and go, well, what if this? What if that? You know, it's an ever evolving process. Absolutely. I think we should wrap up today's episode.
Yeah, I think this was great, and I actually, it's so weird. This is why writing movies can sometimes be great with a partner, because we riff off each other in a way that I feel like had either one of us been by ourselves, we may not have come to the realization that there was a better version of the movie we were telling. Completely. And we may have just gone in and written the whole script and been married to that idea as it was, instead of having these kind of sessions whereby you're like, well, but what if this and what if that? And if you don't have someone asking those questions, you just kind of go, oh, well, here's a good idea. Let's write it. Totally. And it does take us a little bit longer.
It does take a little bit longer. But again, we've only been talking about this idea for about 11 or 12 hours now.
11 or 12 hours.
So it's really interesting to actually be able to track that. Anyway, let's wrap up today. You can find Ben on Twitter at Ben_Lustig. Find me on Twitter at Jake Thornton. You can find our Facebook page, facebook.com/Lustig Thornton.
And so please subscribe.
Indeed, please subscribe already.
To YouTube.
Have a great day. Thanks so much, Ben. See you next time.
Thank you.